You know, we all remember school projects, right? Some were just about coloring inside the lines, and let's be honest, some were just about getting them done on time. But what if a project could be more? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a primary school project called Clean India. On the surface, it looks pretty straightforward, but underneath, it's designed as this absolutely brilliant blueprint for what modern learning can be. So let's get into it.
It really all boils down to this one huge question. This isn't just about teaching kids to pick up litter. Nope, it's about a much, much bigger idea. How do you actually teach a kid to feel a sense of civic responsibility, a real feeling of ownership, not just for their bedroom or their school, but for their entire country? That is the incredible goal we're going to deconstruct.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get into the Clean India Challenge itself. Then, we're going to dive deep into the educational blueprint that really makes this thing tick. After that, we'll see that blueprint in action. And finally, we'll talk about the lasting lesson this whole thing is designed to leave behind.
Okay, first up, the Clean India Challenge. So this whole project gets its spark from India's massive national campaign for cleanliness, the Swachh Bharat mission. Now imagine you have this giant nationwide idea. The real challenge is, how do you take that and scale it down so it actually means something, so it's actionable for a 10-year-old sitting in a classroom? And this right here is the heart of it. Look, anybody can memorize facts about recycling for a test, but this project is aiming for something so much deeper. It's designed to literally shift a mindset, to take a child from just knowing that being clean is important to actually feeling personally responsible for it. We're talking about shaping a future citizen. So the big question is, how do you actually build a project that can do something that ambitious? Well, you don't just wing it. It all starts with a really solid educational blueprint. This isn't just some random list of activities they threw together. It's a super carefully designed structure built on modern learning theories. And the whole design rests on these three core pillars. You've got competency-based learning, which is all about what students can actually do. Then there's experiential learning, which is basically learning through action. And finally, art-integrated pedagogy, which uses creativity to make the learning stick. And trust me, these are not just buzzwords. They're the actual gears that make this entire project work. At the very heart of this project is experiential learning. It's a simple idea, but wow, is it powerful? You don't truly learn something just by reading about it. You learn by doing it, by experiencing it for yourself. And then, and this is key, by thinking about that experience. It's the difference between just reading a recipe and actually getting in the kitchen and cooking the meal. A world of difference. And this comparison just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? The old school method is often about rote memorization, just cramming facts for a test. This project, on the other hand, is all about learning by doing. It's about taking that knowledge and actually putting it to use in the real world. One creates knowledge that kind of evaporates after the exam. The other builds a skill you have for life. So you might be asking, what are the students actually learning through all this doing? Well, they're hitting all these key environmental studies topics, things like waste management and hygiene. But the genius here is that these aren't just separate chapters in a textbook anymore. They are woven directly into the hands-on mission that the students are on. Okay, so we've looked at the theory. Now for the really fun part. Let's see how this incredible blueprint actually gets translated into action. We're moving from the why to the how, and this is where the learning really starts to get its hands dirty. I mean, just look at this sequence. The students aren't just sitting there. They start out as detectives, observing their world. Then they become practitioners, actually sorting waste. From there, they become leaders, organizing a whole cleanup drive. And to top it off, they become journalists, interviewing people in their own community. You see how every step naturally builds on the last? It's fantastic. And this part is so crucial. The project literally blows the walls off the classroom. Learning is no longer something that's just confined to a desk. It's happening at home when you're sorting trash, it's happening in the schoolyard during a cleanup, and it's happening out in your neighborhood when you're talking to people. This is what makes education feel real and truly relevant to a kid's life. And hey, remember that third pillar we talked about, art integration? Well, here it is in action. Art isn't just some extra credit thing here. It's a core tool for understanding and expressing that understanding. The students don't just learn about waste, they create catchy slogans, they design powerful posters, and they even make crafts from recycled stuff. It lets them express what they're learning in a totally personal, creative way. So we finally come to maybe the most important part of all, the lasting lesson.
How do you even know if a project like this truly worked? What's the real, ultimate takeaway here? Well, the way they assess the kids tells you the whole story. Students aren't just getting a grade on some final report, no way. They're being assessed on their participation, on their collaboration, on the originality of their creative work, and most importantly, on how well they actually understood and applied the concepts. The how becomes just as important as the what. You know, this might be the most critical step of the entire process. After all the doing comes the thinking. These reflection questions push the students to really internalize what they just went through. They're not just asked, what did you do? They're asked, what did you learn? And how can you help? And why does this matter? This is the magic step that transforms a fun activity into a really profound lesson. And it all comes together in this one simple, powerful pledge. After observing, doing, creating, and reflecting, these are no longer just words on a page. They now represent a real personal commitment. It's a promise that a 10-year-old is making to themselves and to their community, and it's born from actual experience. So we end right back where we started, with a question. When you really look at a blueprint like this one, you just have to wonder, what if? What if every single school project was designed this way? Not as just another assignment to be submitted and graded, but as an actual experience to be lived, to be learned from, and to be carried forward. Just imagine for a second, what kind of citizens would that create?